We're entering into the world of gatherings and celebrations again. Can I get a high five or an amen? If you haven't done so already and are kind of nervous or apprehensive about hosting birthday parties, this episode is for you. Parenthood is challenging enough as it is, and getting organized sounds easier said than done. Now, combine these two together, and it's truly a balancing act that many of us struggle with day in, day out. If you're here, it's because you want to know how to get your life and home more organized and structured where the kids are involved too, so that parent life is a little easier and you can focus on what truly matters. Hey there, I'm Diane Jimenez, owner and founder of One Tidy Place. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 kids of my own. Each week, we'll talk about all things organizing and getting the kids involved too. So while you tidy up, go out for a walk, or just need some real talk, I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hey there, welcome back, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Parenting Guide Organizing Habits Made Easy podcast. Now, before I get started, I want to dedicate this episode to my dad, the forever kid at heart, and at the time of this episode releases, we would have celebrated his 75th birthday yesterday, March 30th. Crazy how 16 years flew by just like that. Gone way too soon. He would have loved everything about this life right now, with all the cool technology, ease of video making and editing, podcasting. Oh man, but he does live within me, and I'm so proud to be his daughter right now because I'm able to bring you weekly podcast episodes, showing up daily on Instagram, and popping up on video in my private Facebook group on a monthly or as many times as I can. Oh, if he were here, he'd be all over this. So cheers to you, Daddy, in heaven. Thank you for teaching me about all of this. The apple hasn't fallen far from the tree. Okay, speaking of birthdays, now that things are starting to go back to some kind of normal and restrictions are going to be lifted or have lifted at the time of this episode gets released, many of us are jumping for joy because our social calendars are about to get filled up. So this means plans are going to be made, which also means we're entering into the world of gatherings and celebrations again. Can I get a high five or an amen? If you haven't done so already and are kind of nervous or apprehensive about hosting birthday parties, this episode is for you. It's been a long 2 years, right? And like many kids and parents out there, they're going to want to hit the ground running with making up for all the virtual and drive-by birthdays. And there are some who might feel like they've forgotten how it all works. In fact, it might be overwhelming, and that's okay. If you find yourself needing just a little reminder of how to go about throwing a kid's birthday party, or your pre-pandemic babies and toddlers are now big kids ready to invite all their buddies and besties to their birthday parties, and the thought of entertaining everyone, all the kids, is cause for a little panic, I've got you covered. This episode is the ultimate guide to hosting a birthday party. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through all things to consider when organizing your kid's birthday party, whether it's at a venue or at home. Are you ready? Let's go. Now, regardless if it's at a venue or you're hosting at home, here are the common questions you'll need to think through and consider the outcome. Number 1 is the when. When is this party taking place? Picking the date and time is strategic. Do your kids still take naps? Or do you still have young ones taking naps? If so, you'll want to set the party up right after their nap so they're fresh and not cranky, or early in the day so that by the end of the party, they'll be ready for a nap, leaving you with plenty of time to rest and relax yourself, or just enough wiggle room to clean up. If your kids don't nap, what times in the day are they their best self? Another point to consider for when is the actual day. Weekends are the usual go-to days, but nothing says short and sweet when strategically placed during the weekday. Now, with the last 2 years doing things with just our immediate family, we may have gotten used to the private setting and probably not ready to jump in all guns a-blazing with tons of people to cater to. That's okay. Short, sweet, like pizza and cake, or just come over for dessert is perfect. We've done this many times pre-pandemic when our kids' birthdays fell on the weekday and the friends or kids' party was scheduled for the weekend at a noisy or very active venue. I know that having an intimate setting is appreciated by our parents and older relatives if that's what you do, but we love this because it's where the younger and older generations get to bond and enjoy one another in a quieter setting. This is where the conversations happen between young and old. It's really quite beautiful, entertaining, and sometimes surprising. With everybody being so busy and life just passing us by, this is the best time to narrow that generation gap. All right, next thing to consider when hosting a birthday party is the who. Not the band, but the people coming over. Now, this can get a little complicating and quickly overwhelming. Will you have one event that encompasses family and friends? Or 2 separate parties, or maybe even 3 if there are a lot of friends and or family. Trust me, having more than one party is not unusual, especially if you have a big family like we do. We have had 2 separate events on several occasions depending on the activity, our bandwidth, and of course, the actual space, which I'll get to in a minute. Because hosting already brings out a level of stress to begin with, consider the groups of people you'll be having. Your family, immediate and extended, and the kids' friends. And you can even add more people in the mix because of the school friends, the ones they do activities with. Then there are some kids on the street. And don't forget the friends whose parents you're also friends with. Ooh, that's a lot just thinking about it. And I know because of where we are in the world right now, after lockdowns and restrictions, we'll want to invite everyone. But before things get too crazy and out of hand, where the guest list is longer than your arm's length, you gotta ask yourself, when it comes to entertaining guests, how well do you manage your stress? Will it be harmful to your mindset? If I've just brought you to the outskirts of the quote-unquote land of overwhelm, then who will make the cut and who won't? This can be tricky, and we certainly don't want to hurt or offend anyone's feelings. I know from experience, as my kids being the guests to their school friends' birthday parties, that sometimes all the kids in the class were invited, and other times it was just a select few. In no way am I promoting to do one way or the other. You do you, that's for sure. But the thought of inviting the whole class is really nice, but let's get real and honest here for a sec. For our mental and spiritual health, what makes sense for us? And honestly, what matters most? Quantity or quality? Okay, moving on to what to consider when hosting a birthday party is the where. Home or away? Okay, many of us have gone back and forth with this question of where the party will be at, myself included, with the multiple texts back and forth between me and my husband. We get our kids' opinions, then their friends have parties and have their influence on our kids. And we also have the option of new, never been before places and activities. That's all good, but it can get a little crazy as to where the possibilities can take you. So first, I always do a self-check even way before my kid's actual birthday. Either my husband and I will bring it up through text or just regular chat, and we let it sink in for a few days. Where are we mentally and spiritually? Now, we're not super religious, nor do we meditate or anything like that, but hosting an event, receiving people, and being on does ask a great deal of you. Now, add to that, you're still a parent. I know, adulting is great, isn't it? So I often do a self-check of what else is going on in my life right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that my kid won't have a party because work is stressful or life is busy and there's a lot going on. No, This is a celebration of their birth. How can I not shout it out from the rooftops? I just want to be real with you. As much as we love our kids and want to do everything for them, we still have to be real and true with ourselves. What can we handle mentally, physically, financially, emotionally? And do we have the support from family or friends? Can we get the support? I know I've strayed a little from the where just now, but I had to get self-reflection on the table because I find that as a mom, especially, we tend to put everything and everyone in front of our own well-being all the time. And it only gets acknowledged after the fact. So before we get to after the fact, I just want to put it out there right now. So back to the location. By keeping in mind our well-being and what we're capable of doing and our bandwidth, these can help narrow down our decision between a home party and one at a venue. And finally, the last thing to consider when hosting a birthday party is you can't throw a party without a little dinero. Or maybe you can, but a budget helps to determine the details of the event. This is the what. I'm talking about the cost of the party. This alone can be the determining factor of where it'll be held. And at home is usually less expensive than at a venue. But then again, the venue offers cleanup and entertainment that you don't have to be involved in. Sometimes the cost of that alone is worth more than having to prep your house, entertain, and then clean everything up afterwards. The cost also determines the size of the guest list. The more people you invite, well, it usually means the more it'll cost you, right? For food, loot bags, if you do that, theme and decorations, venue requirements, and type of activities too. Budgeting for a party is tricky and can be a very sensitive topic. And this is where we really need to get honest with ourselves once again. Can we afford this? What makes sense? And what won't break the bank? Not many people like answering these because it feels like we're placing a value on our emotions for our kid. Two separate things that should never, ever be put together, especially when it comes to throwing a party for them. Let's think of the other side of the coin here for a few seconds. Say you did have a really big bash this year. What size will the next parties be? And if you have multiple kids, what do you do then? Also, what happens next year and the year after that? So when it comes to budgeting your event, and this part makes you cringe or the slightest bit uneasy, please talk it over with someone you trust, feel comfortable talking about this with, and who will give you sound advice. If you've been listening this whole time, I thank you. While I write this out weeks before this episode airs, I was able to sit back and observe my checklist. And part of me can't help but say that this whole list is self or parent-centered. And some might find that wrong or odd, but just hear me out for a second. The reason why we're throwing a party is for the kid, right? The party won't happen without us, the parents. Plus, the kids don't care who, what, or where their birthday party is at the end of the day. They just care that you're there celebrating with them. So my list is really to help you plan a party with confidence and control so that you can be there to enjoy, be present, and in the moment with your kid, because these events only come once a year after all. So keeping in the theme of hosting birthday parties, I've created a one-page PDF template for you to use at your next and future birthday parties, or for anyone you know that's hosting. I got the idea a few years ago when my daughter had her first birthday party that was a drop-off situation. She was only 6 at the time, and before the party, I wrote her name, age, the language she speaks, which is English, and our cell phone numbers on a piece of athletic tape and taped it to her shorts. Nothing bad happened at the party at all, but the innate organizer in me is always thinking, what will help a situation run smoothly? And the athletic therapist in me is always thinking prevention and emergency action plan. But in creating this PDF, I put my mom hat on and thought about all the things we take care of on top of being the point person when it comes to our kids' events. And so this one sheet PDF came about that answers the need for getting in touch with the key contact people in case. So I created my in case of emergency guest list template, complete with a space for your guest list parents and the contact or emergency numbers. I'll link it in the show notes of this episode, or you can grab it at dianejimenez.com/ICE guest list. That's dianejimenez.com/ICE guest list, all in one word. Print it out and complete it for your next party. Make it accessible to other parents and friends or family who are also there helping you out at the party, in case poop hits the fan and the other parents need to be called. Let's hope you don't need to make any calls, but having this on hand saves you time when time isn't something to waste here at all. All right, I hope you enjoyed today's episode and got at least one takeaway that will help you organize your thoughts and mindset around hosting a birthday party at home or at a venue. And don't forget to download the free PDF in case of emergency guest list. It's linked in the episode's show notes. If you have a friend who might need some guidance or help with their party planning and staying on top of things, I truly appreciate you sharing my content. And if you find there's any episodes where you relate and you can say, yeah, I like this, well, I really appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening right now. Thank you for spending time with me today. I look forward to having you here again next week, friend. Stay safe. Bye.